Topics that matter. Here's your host, Sabrina Turner.
Good morning, Cayman, and welcome to Radio Cayman's Business Buzz. I'm your host, Sabrina. It's the 1st of November. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the holidays are here. Pirates Week are definitely in the air. East End kicks off the Heritage Day festivities as of tomorrow. There is lots of buzz in the air, and there's no different here in studio. Again, we continue. We want to proudly thank our sponsors for the Thursday edition. That's GreenTurtle.ky and also Cayman Medical Supplies. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome in studio my guest, Mr. Chris Bailey, Director of PwC Cayman, and he's joined by Ms. Eva Rozinkova, here to tell us more about PricewaterhouseCoopers. And our topics today that we intend to cover are attraction. How do companies differentiate themselves? Is employer brand important? We're going to be talking a little bit about the retention. Is it really that important? Engagement. Is this a myth? Can we really engage with our employees better if we, how do you get that engagement, that link? Technology in the workforce moving forward. Tips for employees. Future of PwC. I'm interested in hearing that part. And again, we'll definitely share your contact details as we go through this morning's show. But it is a pleasure to have you both in studio with me.
Thank you so much. Wow, that sounds like a lot. We're gonna really go to town on some of this stuff.
I know.
That's awesome.
This is nothing. We're gonna hit it out of the ballpark in a limited time that we have.
Love it.
So, give us an overview of PwC Cayman and some of the background, the history of the company as it is.
Cool. Well, we are just over 50 years.
Wow.
50 years. I mean, you talked about, yes, it's 1st of November today. I can't believe we've been here 50 years. Obviously, I've not been with the company 50 years. I'm hoping I don't come across on YouTube looking like I could be.
We won't go there.
We won't go there.
Age graceful.
But I think, like many of the big four accountancy firms, we try to put innovation at sort of the top of what we look for. It drives our business going forward. It trends in the marketplace, global issues that are being challenged. And so we don't see ourselves as just an audit shop. And I think, typically when we all set up here 50 years ago, that's what we did. We were auditing. And so assurance or audit is only one facet now of kind of what we do. And I'm kind of myself and Eva are the sort of product of the latest and greatest trends in terms of across the globe now. Just for PwC, we have 10,000 people just in people and organisation, which is basically the management of human capital. It's management of the people. It's how, and it's all those things you said: retention, engagement, succession planning. How do companies actually deal with people now on a much more human level? And 2.5 years ago, we didn't offer this service line in the Caribbean from a PwC perspective, and we felt that Cayman had the most need, and that we could sort of base it here and spread the message and start helping.
Well, why not? The foundation is beautiful, excellent weather, beautiful waters,
Absolutely.
hey.
Yeah, so I've been here, crikey, 8 years, and so I saw where the needs were, and I was lucky enough to serve as part of the HR Society board, and just stepped down as its president and handed over to Lisa Brown.
There you go.
So I did get to interact with a lot of companies on a lot of different levels to really understand kind of where their pain points were. And I don't mean pain in a bad way, but things they didn't really understand how to fix from a people perspective.
Okay. So talk a little bit about the 3 core values of the company and the growth that PwC is experiencing today.
Eva.
For the record, Eva, who is HR professional and an accountant.
Yes.
She's a rare breed.
Those two.
I'm actually one of those who came as an auditor and then changed my career to be an HR consultant.
Okay.
So our 3 core values are excellence, teamwork, and leadership. And we have quite recently changed the definition basically of our core values and included 5 explanations, let's say. So it's act with integrity, make a difference, care, work together, and reimagine the possible.
Nice.
So I would say that explains it a little bit more.
Of course, and catching.
And I love the reimagine the possible.
Yes.
You don't often associate that with an audit firm.
Exactly.
And this is, again, why we're trying to say, look, we are more than just assurance. And so many of the questions that come to us from all facets from our related, how do we do this better? Now, that could be people, it could be an M&A deal, it could be a tax service, and it could be audit.
Right.
But reimagining the possible is saying, okay, let's just not think in our silo. Let's actually go, okay, who's doing this the best in class anywhere else in the world, and can we replicate it here?
Excellent. So how critical is the understanding of the changing landscape of business, the economy, and the workforce to PwC's culture? Let's say business model and even hiring efforts.
It's integral. It's kind of all encompassing because we have to be abreast of the challenges that are being faced around the world and understanding how they're going to affect us here in Cayman.
Right.
And when we mentioned then about recruiting efforts, what talent are we going to need to fix those future problems?
Yes.
And that's somewhere where I think there's not enough thought being done right now.
We're only thinking in the moment, understanding for continuity purposes.
Yeah.
Your wheels keep turning. You got to keep looking forward.
Absolutely, and that's where this automation debate kind of then starts rearing its head. Digital transformation. What does that mean for both companies and its workforce?
Exactly.
And that's happening now. That isn't happening in 10 years' time.
No,
we're already going through it.
Look at government.
Exactly.
The e-government.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing everything automated now pretty much, and eventually that'll spread straight across other government departments.
Huge.
So it kind of makes you wonder, where will humans fit in?
Yep. And I think I always hark back to when we introduced ATMs. Everybody thought that was the death of the bank teller. We're never going to see be our friend behind the counter helping us out.
Right.
And what it actually did is it freed those people up to become skilled in doing more customer service oriented interaction. So we actually saw an increase in what was it? They weren't called bank tellers anymore; they were called something else. But we saw an increase in those people, and I think if we embrace the change and embrace technology, you're going to see other roles that we don't even know exist yet come about.
Fear the unknown.
Yeah.
When you look at the other side of artificial intelligence, it is a little freaky.
Oh,
it's scary.
Yeah. I mean, I do look forward to the day we're all sat around wearing those VR goggles at our desk.
I'm quite sure the landscape of a conference room will look totally different. Now, how do companies differentiate themselves? Is employer brand important?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely. And this, for me, there's a really good distinction here. If you ask somebody what they do, and they turn to you and they say, I'm an accountant, rather than saying, I work at PwC, to me that speaks volumes.
Right.
They don't want to tell you where they work. There's a reason for that.
Yes.
Now, they could have misinterpreted the question, but their default response, and this is a bit of sort of human psychology, will actually indicate whether they are proud of the place they work in.
Right.
So if I was to ask Mr. Sabrina, what do you do? The thing that you're passionate about might come out first.
Yes.
And so you may say, I run a radio show on Radio Cayman, and I have another job, and it's great, but this is what I do. So immediately that tells me that you have pride in the employer or the thing you do. So when I'm looking at employer brand, I'm linking it to engagement because if that also will have huge impacts on applications that companies will receive.
Correct.
If you're considered out there to not be an employer of choice, are people going to apply to the jobs that you advertise or talk about?
The reputation that comes
Exactly,
along.
yeah.
So it is twofold there, definitely. So what attraction techniques are we seeing in the Cayman market specifically?
Do you want to go? There's a number.
There's a number.
Yeah.
I would say Cayman market is still a little bit slow to adopt, but there's a number.
I think he was right. The market here is still very traditional. Let's just put an advert in the paper and see who applies, and we'll do an interview. And that just doesn't really cut it anymore. If you want to really engage young minds and new people, and maybe have people consider something they wouldn't have considered otherwise. So one of the examples of this is we run something called Coffee and Careers mornings on a Saturday, and you'll see we do advertise in the paper. It's come and have a coffee with us, come and have a chat with us. It's a coffee and career thing, and 9 times out of 10, the people that show up are the young graduates that are interested in possibly a career in accounting, not really sure what PwC does, but they come along.
Correct.
And for us, we rotate it around the management and leadership team is who's going to attend those mornings, but we take a lot of notes. And so they're actually the first stage of an interview process.
Oh.
We want to see who's turned up, because if you came before Coffee and Career mornings and you met a lot of different people, and then you applied to a job advert with us,
That speaks volumes.
we're going to, these guys are really keen. This lady showed up 4 times and she met a really good impression. And, well, why not? Why doesn't she go to the top of the list then? Because we get hundreds and hundreds of applicants weekly.
Can only imagine. Yeah.
People just assume that we're a huge company that always has vacancies. And often the time that isn't true. And we hold on to our people. But yeah, that's just one thing I think we're seeing a few other companies start to do now in terms of engage people socially, so that they get to understand who you are as a company, and then we know them when they come through the door for that interview.
But it's a little bit more comfortable as well. You're not in that boardroom with all of these jackets and neckties, and you've got to, you get them out. It's open air many times, or in that casual coffee shop, that as you rightly said. You see a difference. You see who the person is, really.
Yeah. And you're also now seeing, when we know that there is a vacancy within the company, we put it out internally, and then often you'll then see the next step of it being on Facebook, or on a social feed, on LinkedIn.
Right.
And so before we even get to the stage where we're advertising in the newspaper, we often don't have to, because if we found the right person who lives locally and all the rest of it, then we don't need to go to the paper. So I think people are missing out if they're waiting for the adverts to appear in the paper.
Right.
My often advice to young people and the more mature workforce is make yourself known to the companies you want to work for. And I don't mean do that in a becoming a pest, but there's 2 degrees of separation for anybody here on this island. I'm 100% a believer in that. So there's always a way you can get an informal introduction.
So how, in your opinion, can companies retain their employees, and pretty much include what incentives should be in place?
Wow, okay, that's another big question.
I actually wouldn't call them incentives.
Okay.
It's more about the culture of the company.
Fair enough.
When you attract them, they stay with your company. You need to make sure that they are involved with the company. They want to spread the word that it's a great company. So it's more about the culture and the people which work there.
Right.
Yeah, and I flip it into almost looking at engagement first. Because if you engage your employees, and there's a couple of really good measures for this, when you throw a staff social, how many actually turn up?
Exactly.
When you do a survey of the company, how many actually respond? These are sort of business critical sort of HR metrics that you need to measure to sort of get your engagement index or level. And if people are engaged and responsive, then you often see turnover decreasing. So we therefore have to rely less on incentives, because the culture of the business is actually one that they enjoy coming to work. They like being a part. Their voice is heard. They can take part freely. And I think those companies that get that bit right have to spend way less more money on incentives.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean their incentives are bad. It's just actually it's a secondary consideration, because people are generally engaged and happy. But I want to answer your question, because there are specific incentives that some employers are using, and we are, because of the use of technology, people are embracing more flexible working. They're very conscious that both mum and dad might need time, especially when they've got kids and different things happen. And and you would think that a company like PwC couldn't possibly offer flexible working because of the deadlines. We have probably one of the most robust flexible working policies that I've come across. And if people need to go out and view a rental property at 2 o'clock in the day, fine,
Go
where you go. So I think you're seeing some subtle differences in the incentives being linked to how we manage the people.
I'll get your thoughts when you come back after the break on the 4-day work week.
Oh, yes.
What are your thoughts on that? I mean,
It's one thing having flexible hours, but I'm seeing more and more coming up in TED Talks and different media sources where big, huge organizations are actually doing it, or even that work at home, and they're finding the quality of work that's being produced by their employees are far more superior than when you're stressing them out for this 5 or 6 day work week. But I'll take your thoughts on that when we come back. You're in tune to Radio Cayman's Business Buzz. We put the focus this morning on PricewaterhouseCoopers. I've been speaking with Mr. Chris Bailey, Director of PwC Cayman, and he's been brought along with him is Eva Rozengova, who is HR professional and an accountant. Keep it locked for more when we come back.
Oh gosh.
Don't let the stress of taking care of loved ones get you down.
Home care, now made easier with Cayman Medical Supplies. 100% Caymanian owned. Cayman Medical Supplies now stocks a wide range of home care supplies. Hospital beds, all types of wheelchairs, including beach access wheelchairs, lifts, commodes, shower chairs, walkers, Curad brand orthopedic supplies, free blood glucose monitors with the purchase of 1 pack of test strips, blue underpads, and a whole lot more.
Need home care convenience? Drop by Cayman Medical Supplies at 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Call 949-6211. Free delivery.
You may have heard of them by now. GreenTurtle.ky, a one-stop shop for your mobile needs. Whether shopping for a new phone or topping up a loved one, it's time to hop aboard the Green Turtle Express. From 24-hour delivery in Grand Cayman to sending credit worldwide, GreenTurtle.ky is the future of mobile. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. GreenTurtle.ky. They get there first.
The pirates are in a party, a kind of a masquerade. The Pirates Week National Festival is here. Don your best pirate costumes and get ready to rock the island with a jam-packed lineup of music, food, parades, fireworks, revelry, runs, song competitions, and underwater treasure hunt, the annual turtle release, children's fun day, beach cleanups, street dances, and so much more. Go to piratesweekfestival.com to see the full list of events. The Pirates Week Festival 2018. It'll be a year to remember. Sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, the Department of Tourism, Cayman Airways, the TAB, Monster Media, and Radio Cayman.
Island is one big party.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz, the business topics that matter, and insightful and fresh take on a variety of issues that impact the local business environment.
Business Buzz.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz, keeping the spotlight on PricewaterhouseCoopers in studio. I'm joined by Mr. Chris Bailey, Director of PwC, and Ms. Eva Rozengova, HR professional and accountant. Before that break, I tossed it out there. Your takes, probably I didn't invite both of you, your takes on possibly a 4-day work week, or even that option for employees to work from home.
I think it sounds awesome. I can imagine Mondays in bed, but what day are we
No, it's by choice. It's by choice because by default, we pretty much have a long weekend almost every month for the first quarter or first half of a year anyhow. But if productivity and the work produced is even superior from what they have just by having them pretty much in a cubicle or in an office 5 days a week.
I don't know. I keep jumping straight in. I can feel me itching to do this. Go for it.
Well, we actually do something like this already in PwC.
Nice.
So our employees are able to don't take a day off, but basically work for 5 days in 4 days, and then enjoy another day of holidays, of weekends. Of course, you work the hours, but you are excited because it's only 4 days.
Exactly.
So I would say it's very good.
I think this is where the flexible time policy needs to. You can't just say we have flexible working without having a pretty robust model of, okay, well, how does it actually look and how does it affect the business that we're in? And so for some companies, it can work that you can work 4 days and do the hours in 4 days and have the other day off. But when you're talking about law firms or banks that are trading daily with other countries and other institutions, if you're not there on one of the days, what goes wrong?
Yes.
Not necessarily what goes wrong, but who can't you get? And what business could you lose if somebody couldn't get to you? And I think that's always, for business leaders, that's always the biggest question is trying to balance having somebody there to answer queries, do some work versus them not being around on a Friday. Now, the apprehension is that we might lose business, and so many companies, Google being one, huge companies have said, okay, well, let's just try this. Let's see if it falls down. But those companies that are able to try it and pilot it tend to have such a loyal base or such a hold on a market that they can do this without fear.
Exactly.
Right? I can't see companies that are smaller businesses being able to do that because they just don't have the manpower to soak up that kind of thing. So there's a real balance. But it doesn't mean that small companies can't take advantage of something similar.
You got to understand your organization and your clients.
And it comes back to the employees understanding why they're there also.
I think you have less sick outs after look.
Now, perfect segue into technology and the workforce. We all know that automation and digital platforms and other innovations are changing the fundamental nature of work in itself. What can policymakers, business leaders, and workers cope, with this moving forward? How are you dealing with that?
This is one of the questions that pretty much we're getting asked daily. So how do we prepare? Like, we're told we've got to be thinking about this, but what do we do? And so the first thing I say is, look, just start with your people. You know what technology is going to come down the pipe. You know what areas of the company are going to face automation or streamlining or efficiencies through the use of technology, whatever that may be. And so we're saying, okay, if you start with the people, okay, what skills do they have now and what skills could they need in the future? Because the first thing people hear on automation is redundancies. Oh, no, it's all going to happen. And I don't think that's strictly true. In some cases, that role might become redundant, but the person may still be valuable in another area of the business.
Correct.
And they're only valuable if we upskill them. They're only valuable if we take care of them, and we're only valuable if they themselves take some ownership to say, okay, my role is changing. I can see it coming a mile off. Rather than be someone who's going to accept redundancy, how do I make myself invaluable to the company going forward? And therefore, you're seeing, my big thing is adopt technology. Don't be afraid of technology. Learn the technology. And so from a learning and development perspective, this is where we start with companies say, okay, if you want to transition these staff up, and or up sideways, however, somewhere else in the business, we need to skill them in the technologies we're going to be using in the future. So let's build that in.
So advice to potential employees or persons seeking jobs, what would you say to them today?
Exactly that. Like, embrace technology. Gone are the days where we need somebody to sit there and, depending on the industry, but if you're talking about the main financial services crux of what's here, then we need people to be analytical. We need people to be team players. We need people that are going to be a little bit more strategic in thinking. And if you ask, we did a big CEO survey. We interviewed 1,500 of the CEOs across a lot of industries. This was a global survey. And their biggest hiring challenge was hiring people with critical thinking skills, team building kind of
or a team player, just being fitting in,
and being dynamic, being ability to change.
Right.
And if you can demonstrate those three skills in an interview, and I can put you in any role.
Good to go.
You know, and this is what we're also saying to young people coming out, and they're fretting that they haven't got necessarily the right qualifications. And I'm saying from a PwC perspective, sure, if you're going to be an accountant, you need the qualification. But if you're going to be other things in the organisation, we need attitude. We hire on attitude. We hire on your ability to be able to take a problem and solve it and work with others to do so.
Oh, it's good that you said that, because I wouldn't see myself fitting into PwC. Just speaking, because I'm not an accountant. Maybe people may be saying that out there listening to us right now.
Absolutely.
But I'm not an accountant. So how would I fit into PwC, which tells me or wants me to ask, what other services do you offer at PwC Cayman that would open up other employment opportunities for persons that are not accountants?
Sure.
So,
Eva, we're always throwing you on the bus.
always the hard questions. So PwC also offers tax services. We offer consulting services, M&A deals services.
I think from the non-accountant point of view, the stuff that goes along with that is that there's a lot of client-facing work, there's a lot of events that we do, there's a lot of business development that gets done, there's a lot of analytics that doesn't necessarily need to be a qualified accountant to do some analytics work. And so a lot of our young associates who are either going through training or qualifying or trying to find their path, they get involved in all sorts of things. And I find really nice is our doors constantly being knocked going, are you guys working on any cool projects at the moment? And it's like, yeah, there's always something that we can do. And so, I mean, you know, we've got people looking at data, trying to find us data from people who are trying to benchmark jobs in different countries around the world. I don't need an accountant, but I need to go and find data, but that requires some form of detective skills, because often the data isn't sat on a public forum. You might have to make some calls, but you can get the data all the time. So
what can we expect from PricewaterhouseCoopers PwC Cayman in the future?
Wow. That's a good one. I wish I had Graham here.
That would be you.
That would be me. Okay. We're now at 200 and something, just over 200 employees. I think we moved into the space in Commander Bay, hopefully with a 5-year plan of growth. We're pretty much full.
Okay.
so it shows that we're diversifying into more advisory service areas, so that we can align ourselves with business. But typically, I think that, Cayman is booming at the moment, and I think there's a lot of very positive vibes coming our way. There's a lot of good things going on in the region as well, and we want to be a central hub for this. And we want people to come to us because they want to come to us, not because they feel they have to. Everyone has a choice these days. There's always somebody we're just more about being the personal touch with a global kind of knowledge base that we can help with. And I think the stuff you'll see from us over the next few years is going to be more cutting edge in terms of technology, digital transformation. What does blockchain actually mean to the layperson in the streets?
Cryptocurrency, that's coming up in almost every interview that I'm holding.
And people use it. I think people throw those words around to make it sound and not really know what they mean.
Correct.
And I think what we want to do is help sort of dispel some of the myths and some of this stuff, because you're going to see blockchain in HR. You're going to see blockchain in people management. But it doesn't mean that you have to suddenly become this math wizard. No, it's just a button that we push and it spits out some numbers.
Maybe that could be our next interview and how it incorporates PwC. Yes. So how can persons get more information on PwC Cayman and your services?
So first would be obviously social media, Facebook. You just find us PwC Cayman Islands, or our website www.pwc.com/ky. That would be.
If you go to the Facebook page, you're going to see us shaving beards and beach days and cleaning up and turtles. These are all stuff we do for engagement, right?
Yes.
But you can email me, chris.bailey@pwc.com, and eva.rosingdover, so to spell it, at pwc.ky. But we're both quite high profile on LinkedIn, and we're on the Facebook page, so we're very easy.
What would you like to leave for the listening audience this morning, or aspiring persons may find themselves, trying to land themselves a job, there's just giving up hope? What would you say to those persons out there?
That fifth tenet, that reimagine the possible, and take, I always use Franz Manderson, the Honourable Franz, as an example here. You ever ask him how he is, he always says, "I'm excellent, thank you." And if you can instill your mind, say, "No, I'm good, I'm good."
That is his response.
That's always his response, right? "I'm excellent, thank you very much." And so if you're feeling down about life in general, and just change the response. Reimagine the possible, which is the civil service reimagined. Right. I'm excellent, thank you, and get out there. Go meet somebody, go talk to somebody, and if the more you put out there, I think the more you'll get back.
Miss Eva, what would you like to leave with our listening audience this morning?
be open to any kind of change because it's coming. We can't stop it. But if we embrace it, we will definitely get something better out of our life.
You'll stay in the game.
Absolutely.
It has been a pleasure, and thank you for allowing us right here on Radio Cayman's Business Buzz. Put the spotlight on PwC. We want to wish you all success and continue your endeavors.
Appreciate it. It'd be great here.
Stay tuned for more of the Business Buzz when we come back. We will be putting the spotlight on a fair that's going on. Yes, that's the British Schools Fair. It's happening Saturday, November the 3rd at Marriott Grand Cayman Beach Resort. We will have some more information on that and what this all means to you if you're thinking about going off to the UK for school, which is the right school. Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my children. Yeah, Liverpool. We'll know which one to go, but definitely we're going to have like a representative. It's almost like a concierge who has the know-how, definitely got the connects, so you can make the right choice. Keep it locked to the buzz for more when we come back.
You may have heard of them by now. GreenTurtle.ky, a one-stop shop for your mobile needs. Whether shopping for a new phone or topping up a loved one, it's time to hop aboard Green Turtle Express. From 24-hour delivery in Grand Cayman to sending credit worldwide, GreenTurtle.ky is the future of mobile. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. GreenTurtle.ky, they get there first.
Oh gosh.
Don't let the stress of taking care of loved ones get you down.
Home care, now made easier with Cayman Medical Supplies. 100% Caymanian owned. Cayman Medical Supplies now stocks a wide range of home care supplies. Hospital beds, all types of wheelchairs, including beach access wheelchairs, lifts, commodes, shower chairs, walkers, Curad brand orthopedic supplies, free blood glucose monitors with the purchase of 1 pack of test strips, blue underpads, and a whole lot more.
Need home care convenience? Drop by Cayman Medical Supplies at 93 Smith Road, Windward Center, or call 949-6211. Free delivery.
Cayman's cruise industry must be preserved and developed. It is a myth that the cruise lines will continue to call on Cayman at the rate they do now without the piers. It is a fact that the mega-class ships will not be tendered. Arrivals will decline by half over time as the older ships are decommissioned. This hurt our economy and thousands of Caymanians who work in this industry. If we want to continue providing opportunities for Caymanians, we need the piers. Support the piers. Support our tourism.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz, the business topics that matter, an insightful and fresh take on a variety of issues that impact the local business environment.
Cayman's Business Buzz.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz. There is a British school fair that will be going on right here in the Cayman Islands this Saturday, November the 3rd, from 2 until 6 p.m. at Marriott Grand Cayman. In studio with me this morning is Mr. Brown.
Good morning.
And he's here to tell us more. And it's all about BVS education. BVS is unique in giving advice based on many years of experience of teaching in the leading British independent schools. They pride themselves on having thorough knowledge of a wide range of schools, UK-wide, and admissions process for them. They also offer truly bespoke service, which is centered on finding the right school for your child or children. And this fair is making it easier, and I can see why, for persons to actually go and hear what opportunities are available, the process, tuitions, just accommodations. Tell us more.
Thanks, Sabrina. I wish I could say it was all about BVS education, but this weekend it's most definitely about British schools, and more importantly, it's about opportunities. It's opportunities for Cayman children, Cayman families to learn more about the opportunities that might be available at a UK boarding school.
Yes. So tell us exactly what can people expect when they come to this fair on Saturday the 3rd.
Basically, it's their chance to speak to representatives from some of the UK's leading boarding schools, find out a little bit more about those individual schools, but also to find out more generally about the opportunity and the experiences that might be available to Cayman children should they decide to go to school in the UK.
What has been the biggest myth you've found or misconceptions of a person trying to make that decision, be it UK, Canada, or the US, that you've seen specific? Because this is not your first time hosting one of these fairs here, right?
So, look, it's my 4th time on Island Doings.
So when you look at sport persons who've actually come up and, let's say, ended up choosing the UK as their place of choice, what has been their biggest apprehension at the beginning? Maybe proximity?
I suppose so, yes. I mean, if you ask any sort of 11-year-old child, 13-year-old child, or actually normally when you ask their mums, you normally get the more nervous response from mum.
Overprotective mums.
Exactly. Which is a natural phenomenon. Of course, leaving the sort of bosom of their family and heading overseas, it is a massive change, and it's a lot to ask a young boy or girl to do. But my experience of Cayman children, and indeed most overseas children at school, that very, very quickly disappears. Once they're there, they know how it works, they're with their friends. Actually, the problem is not that they feel sad about leaving home and going to school, actually trying to get them to go back home is the difficult bit. They have so much fun at school now that parents say the worst experience they have is not that their children are ringing and crying and saying they're homesick. It's normally that the children don't actually ring at all because they're having such a great time. And that's just the way it should be.
What age groups are we looking at for what you're actually offering? Because people not normally here are leaving home, college, pre-college, university.
Yes.
When you talk about this fair and what will be representatives there, what are the age groups we're talking about?
So the schools that are here, there are senior schools which would have students from age 13 to 18, and then there's also one preparatory school which is children from the age of 8 to 13. Now, back in the day, when I was a young boy, everyone went off to boarding school at 8. Well, I say everyone, lots of my friends went off at 8. That is not common anymore.
Okay.
Most Cayman families will tend to be looking at children going at 13 or maybe 16.
Correct.
However, a lot of parents now, I think, because they're investing more time in deciding on a school, they work out quite quickly that if they want their child to go to a very good senior school at 13, then perhaps sometimes the best way of achieving that is for the child to go a little earlier, to go at 11, spend 2 years at a prep school, and then perhaps stand a better chance of getting into a very, very good senior school. So the simple answer, when parents ask me when is the right time to send my child to school, there is no answer to that question. It really depends on an individual child. And that's the judgment all parents have to make. Is my child ready? And mostly parents know. They know when the child's ready to go. They're excited. And the idea of children being sent off to school age 8 and not seeing their parents again until they're 18, and in fact the child that was returned to the parent probably wasn't actually their child at all, but they didn't mind as long as they had decent qualifications and played rugby very well and were kind of nice young boy or girl. That's gone. Children want to go now, and that happens at different times for different children. It's just levels of maturity, interest, and all those things. And I think parents now, they sense my child is ready. They want something different than what they have, and that's when it is the right time.
Now, understanding the culture here that's unique to Cayman, and you rightly said between 13 and 16, we don't want them to fly the coop before we decide to let them go.
Sure.
Have you seen that change in the past 4 years? Where we're more open to letting them go?
I think so. I would agree entirely. When I first started doing this, there was always this belief that children went at 16. For the final 2 years, preparation for university. And that still applies to many children. But I think what I've noticed is parents are, because parents, I think, are more savvy now and a lot more involved. It used to be that, you just simply got sent off to a school that your parents, either your family had been to or somebody had recommended your parents. That was it. That was as much work that parents did in choosing school. That's not the case anymore. And I think parents now, they want the very best for their children and they want the right school for their children. So they're very open, I think, to discussions about when the right time is. So often they may come thinking 16, but then through discussions and through learning about what happens at these schools, sometimes their their parameters change, I think, and they work out, what we had originally thought was the right thing maybe isn't. And that's the whole purpose of the schools fair.
At the beginning, you said that they're representatives. Are you able to say what schools will be there for
Certainly,
consult?
yeah. There are 9 schools attending. And now I'm terrified I'm going to miss one out. I'll try and do an alphabetical order. The standalone prep school that's here is called Cottesmore in Sussex near Gatwick Airport. And then senior schools, some pretty leading UK infant schools, quite well-known names. Brighton College, Dean Close School, Felsted, then the M's, Marlborough, Millfield, Malvern, Loretto, Strathallan. I think I've done them all.
Anything in Liverpool, like my dear friend Chris Bailey alluded to?
No, not so much. But Loretto, for example, and Strathallan are in Scotland, so we've got quite a good UK spread there. But no, unfortunately, no Liverpool.
And the interaction that parents and pupils alike who are planning to come to this fair on Saturday will be very personal.
Absolutely, and that's, having done this for a number of years now, naturally, ultimately schools are selling a product and a very expensive product. We have to be honest about that, and therefore it's the job of ladies and gentlemen who represent the schools to not only tell parents what they want to know or what they should know about the school, but it's actually more a case of the schools getting to know the children and the families, because this is going to be a 5, 6, however many years journey that they're going to share together. And it really is, having done this on both sides of the fence, having represented the school doing this before, it's just a lovely chance to actually meet the children face to face.
I looked at your background. You've been involved in this as a teacher, housemaster, and even a consultant, and here you are still today. What motivates you to continue?
If I'm being really honest, I taught for me as I was a history teacher and housemaster, so I kind of had lived and breathed schools all my life. At some point, I sort of thought, I fancy doing something different. But certainly listening to the previous chat about PwCs, I thought, I have no skills in life. I could never possibly go and do a significant job like that. But I realised, I have some soft skills. I'm quite good with children, and I know lots about independent schools. Sometimes a useful thing to know, sometimes really not. But it was just a case of sort of putting my teaching experience and a knowledge of independent schools together. And I don't know, I suppose we all have our own little inner geek, and mine is that I kind of really like these schools.
It's a good thing you ended up on the business bus.
Indeed.
And now, how can persons get additional information on this upcoming fair that, again, is scheduled for November 3rd at the Marriott Resort? Is there a Facebook page? There's a website?
There is, absolutely. British Schools Fair Cayman Islands is the Facebook page. The actual registration, parents, it's absolutely free to attend. Parents can just turn up. However, just to save a little bit of time on the door, if they would like to pre-register, www.eventbrite.co.uk, it has all the information about the schools that are going to be there, timings and all that sort of thing. So if parents would kindly register with that would certainly make my job a little bit easier.
I can imagine. Yes. Scholarship opportunities.
Sure. That's a question we're asked quite a lot. What I say to families is it's always worth asking. Now, you have to remember that schools don't always have hugely deep pockets, but they like to help wherever they can. There are two forms of financial assistance available. The first of those is scholarships, and scholarships are awarded for a particular talent in one thing, so whether that be academic, sporting, drama, music, whatever. And then secondly, there are bursaries, and those are awarded basically on a means-tested basis to our children who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford to go to school to be able to do so. It's always worth asking the schools. In terms of scholarships, in terms of a particular talent, all I would say is that your child has to be pretty talented to be given those, because the title of the scholar, it's an honorific one, and so if you want your child to go for a music scholarship or an academic scholarship, they've got to be good, and they've got to prove their worth continually during their time at school. But the bursary is there to try and help families who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford the fees. So I would say have the conversation, and hopefully the schools will be able to help.
Because time does not permit, what would you like to leave our listening audience with this again this morning, and you can recap?
Sure. I would just say, of course I'm biased to some extent, but I'm quite proud of the fact that, the UK independent schools are among, the most successful and the finest in the world, both in terms of their academic output, but in terms of, looking after the whole child.
Yes.
They're well-rounded institutions. I would say, come along, speak to the schools. It doesn't matter how soon in advance you're doing this. It's never too early. Come along, chat to the schools. And I think, what I always say to parents is that at the end of the process, most parents are actually more excited about the school than the children are. They actually just quite jealous. They actually want to go themselves. And that is such a sea change from when I was at school. So I'd say, come along and find out. They look forward to meeting you.
Well, Mr. Brennan, it has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for allowing us, and thank you for reaching out as well. And we're happy that we could give you this audience this morning to get the word out there. Again, the British School Fair takes place right here in the Cayman Islands on Saturday, November 3rd, from 2 to 6 p.m. at Marriott Grand Cayman. All are welcome, and it's free.
Absolutely.
So all you got to go is log on to the website, register. It'll save you and Mr. Brown some time to www.evenbright.co.uk. Again, all success to you, and it has been a pleasure.
Thanks very much, Sabrina.
The Business Buzz is proudly sponsored by greenturtle.ky and Cayman Medical Supplies. It has been a pleasure. We want to thank Susan, our producer, who is still on vacation. I hope she's having a good time, but you know what? That doesn't take away from her producing. We want to thank her for that. And for you, our listening audience, our loyal supporters to Radio Cayman. Until Tuesday, have a safe and fabulous Thursday.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac.